How many of you have seen this screen before? Those of you that have attended a conference? I should see almost every hand go up. And there's a reason we keep that in there, because we're serious about it. We'd like for you to make sure that you read the instructions. You may want to print them out, have them sitting next to you as you start. Good idea to read them ahead of time if you can. They are out on the website. We just got those out on the website not too long before conference. There are changes every year because, as we know, there are changes in the laws every year. And sometimes those laws require us to change a form. Sometimes we just change a form because there's a better way to do it. And sometimes I think Dan just changes a form to be ornery. So please read the instructions. And another thing that we need to bring up are some of your software programs. The instructions that they'll have kind of supersede what we say. We're saying generally this is how it all needs to be done. But your software may have a certain procedure that needs to be done first. Obviously, that's going to take a little precedence. I thought I'd add a little picture in there to kind of remind you. So we did make the slide a little different, just to get your attention. And these actually are not out on the website yet. Brenda's been working diligently at it. Wanted to bring up a couple of comments about the 17TC form especially, and the certificate of error summary. We have protected these cells as best we can, protect the forms as best we can, because we know none of us are perfect, and we're going to hit a button wrong. We're trying to help prevent problems. And we ask that you don't add rows, add worksheets, or please don't delete a worksheet, because then the formulas are all skewed, and then you call us or send us an email and say, I don't know what happened, but I've got an error list in here. And we know that that's probably what happened, and it's easy to do. You may set up a worksheet that you've named Wayne Township, and you accidentally put Washington Township's detail in there, so you think, oh, I'll just cut that and paste it over. Well, when you cut and paste, a lot of times that moves formulas. Then we've got a problem. So just a little helpful hint there. And some more of those lovely forms. And the Quietus Worksheet we're going to go over this afternoon. It's been redesigned. Same worksheet, just a different design. It's going to be a little easier for you. Okay? And this is probably another slide you've seen before about using the adjusted rates for circuit breaker and for those counties that adopted the Lowett operating levy freeze. Just a quick reminder, I'm sure you guys were all excited on Dan's presentation yesterday about the protected and unprotected funds. And there will be an adjusted rate, and how that amazing brain over there can figure all this out just, I think, blows us all away. But just a reminder, that really doesn't take effect until next year, and it is going to affect property tax only. That does not affect excise tax distributions. And I'm sure glad I didn't have to do that presentation. Okay, here's something that's been kind of fun. You know, you hear and you'll see on several of the slides about using the worksheets that we've created. Well, because some of your software vendors are amazing and they've tried to create some of these forms, if we have looked them over and made sure that everything's working like it should, and your software vendors know that, it's okay to use their forms. We do still want our Form 105 because that's the one that we print out and save for ever and ever and ever. And you guys have to save forever too. Once again, Brenda's working really hard at getting all the documents out on the FTP site. The treasurer has a folder out there. For those of you that have looked out there, there's nothing in there yet, but they'll get the 49TC. and the excise tax recon worksheet, our office information sheet. And just a reminder, there are in the settlement instructions now, I think last spring, we added a section for the treasurers, so that, and we will let them know that there's information out there to help them complete the form, because there's one new change this year on that. Not a big deal. It's easy, I promise. And on this one, we made a mistake. Yes, in fact, just like always, you need to remember to include any of your local tax credits. It's going to be the abstract amount minus the amount that you distributed in June. What we didn't update on here was seeded, because in the past you got seeded all in May, and that's changed now. So it's going to be the same thing. The seeded money needs to agree with the abstract less what you distributed in June with your spring settlement. And another thing that doesn't happen real often anymore, just another gentle reminder, that your treasurer needs that money before, and they need to cashier in that money before they start their settlement. Okay, so try to remember to do that. I know some counties cashier it as they get it. Some don't, but so please make sure that they have that, because we're going to catch that when we see the 49 TC with nothing in that column, and we know you have that credit. You'll get a phone call. No heckling on that one? No? Okay, cool. And see, this was important, because any settlement that doesn't have that, it's going to be rejected. We're going to send it back to you and have you do that. And in some cases, you've got to, well, you will. You'll have to start your settlement all over to make sure those dollars are included. Circuit breaker exempt. Make sure that you use those adjusted property tax rates for your apportionment of your taxes. And all of you already have those adjusted rates, because you would have had those in June. This was something I was excited about last June when Dan gave us permission to not have to do the 2008 and prior delinquent property tax worksheet reconciliation statement, or some such long name like that. Some of the counties, because their software continues to track it, you can use the form. And if you choose to do that, we will provide you with a new form, because some of the counties that are doing that still have the school levy shortfall issue that they have to address with every settlement, and we have to update that form with every settlement. So just let Brenda or I know, and we'll make sure you get that as quickly as possible. In the same way with the omitted homestead credit form, once again, a lot of counties don't use that anyway, but if you opt to use that, you need to contact us. We're not going to put those two forms out on the website, okay? Not the website, the FTP site. Excise tax. Well, we know that things have gotten better, although slower, because of that. The BMV adopted this 14-day turnaround because of NSF checks that they were getting, which has still caused us a few problems with your watercraft distributions. We're trying to catch that this time, but that has gotten better. But because of that, we've recommended for the counties that used to always have their cutoff date for June, the end of April, and then in December for settlement, the cutoff date was the end of October. You're welcome to move those dates up a month. So that way, that's one thing that you can have all ready to go for settlement, because you've already got all that money. We recommend it, and I think it would make your jobs a lot easier. Sorry, I don't have any jokes. And I don't have any pictures because I don't have any grandchildren. Everybody say, oh, okay, it's all good. Let's see. because that means I get to spoil everybody else's kids and send them home. Treasurer Auditor Excise Recon Sheet. Continue. Now, that one has to be our form. Okay, and one of the things we don't mention on there, but one of the items that we've noticed sometimes when we're checking your settlements, that first amount, the treasurer's amount of excise doesn't match what the treasurer certified on the 49TC. So that's just not going to work. So just a reminder, make yourself a little note there to make sure that you're starting out with that figure. Dang, I am fast. 105. There's one small change on that 105. We've got them listed there. We've done our best to try to keep that settlement form 105 to be 46 lines because that's how it's been forever, and we're just doing our best to make it easy and not make big changes. But one of the lines that we added, of course, you've still got the refund amounts, but we've added a line specifically for those late payment penalties on those certain special assessments. So you're going to see that on there. Line 39 is still the refunds. Line 40 is for the 2008 and prior delinquent tax, if you're following that. And then the late payment penalties, we've added a line. Before, if you guys remember, especially for people like Tara that have been here for 10 years, and who did I talk to last night that's been in county government since 1974? Is it? Is that right? 76. So I didn't ask for her permission, but if anybody's new and they need some help, Rita's your girl. Anyway, down at the bottom, it used to be line 44 was your excise tax, and line 45 was a blank line. Some people would use that if they had excise refunds to account for. We've actually, because we wanted to add that other line, we've moved it around. So if you're going to enter your excise tax and you have refunds that you want to back out on that line, and this is all covered in these settlement instructions, you can just net it and put it on that line, okay? I skipped. Refunds. Fund refunds. As you know, they have to be deducted this settlement. You're only going to deduct those that for the year that you didn't. You're not going to include what you already backed out in June, I guess is the best way to put it. Remember that the credit amounts need to be broken down because almost all refunds will have some kind of credit listed depending on the year and what it affected. Like when you go back prior to prior to 2008, you will have state PTRC. But as your refunds, like if it's one for this year, last year, you didn't have that. But for those counties that adopted other credits, homestead credits especially, those would need to be broken down between state and homestead. And, you know, on the 17TC, on the right side, you've got your proof columns. Make sure those show zero, and typically what happens, the reason those don't show zero is that somebody forgot to go into the section where you show the breakdown of the type of credit, okay? The how many pages county checklist? It's fewer pages this year. Not a lot, but fewer pages. And Brenda worked very hard on getting that together, and I know you guys all want to do whatever you can to make Brenda feel good, because she worked really hard on that. Chris is shaking his head no. But she really did, and I know it seems a little overwhelming because it's so many pages, but if you go through that line by line, step by step, your settlement's going to be perfect when it comes in, okay? So I cannot say enough how much we encourage you to use that. And one of my favorites is when you send in your settlement and it's not right, and then you might send it in again and it's not right, And me being the sarcastic person that I am will say, okay, did you use the settlement checklist? Knowing deep in my heart that there's no way that you used it. And I'm not saying that to be mean. It's just that we really want to encourage you. We want to make it easy for you. And that's really the purpose of this, to help you guys help yourselves so that it comes in right and everybody gets to have a great Christmas because your settlement's done. Couple new things that we've put in there this year. Be certain you've got your correct distribution rates in your system. All the softwares are different. I would assume, because we checked these in June, there's been no changes in your system, so those should be okay. But we are going to check that. We're going to ask you, and it's coming up on a slide, we're going to ask you for a list out of your tax system, not something that you created and gave to us, but something out of your tax system that shows the apportion rates that you're going to use to distribute those dollars. And we check, we have all these cool little sheets that we can use to check and make sure that the proper rates are being used, okay? Do I say that a lot? Okay. Here's an oldie but a goodie. Not so much true anymore because you guys are awesome and are getting your settlements in on time. But if you don't, for whatever reason, that may happen, there is that 51-day deadline, and anything beyond that, you have to pay interest, but you only pay interest on the amount that you hadn't already advanced. Okay? And it's very simple to figure out. The bottom line shows you how to do that. If you need any help with that at all, you just give us a holler. Then, not so much true anymore. I was just thinking about the idea of when we get a check for interest, we need the breakdown by fund of that interest, but you guys don't send us much money anymore, do you? Cool. Okay, what do we need before final approval? Well, we're going to need the money from the excise tax allocations. We're going to need if you are continuing to track the 2008 and prior delinquent tax deductions for those funds, we'll need that check. And then on the 105A form, that's where we know how much the state is to get back on the state portion of PTRC and homestead from refunds. That amount, you find that on your reconciliation worksheet, which you copy over to the 49TC. As you go through and do these, and I just wanted to mention real quickly, because I know the first time it kind of threw me, sometimes those amounts, when you do that reconciliation worksheet, you may end up with one of the credits is positive, one of them is a negative, and when you're all finished with that district, and that happens, don't let it wig you out, it can happen. And it's all based on whether it's an increase, whether it's a decrease, and how that nets out. Settlement fines and fees due to the state on or before December 31st. Some of you guys, your treasurers are just awesome at getting the certified collections to you earlier than used to be. Although I heard somebody last night told me their treasurer said that they had 30 days to certify to her, and by golly, they were going to take their 30 days. I got to look that up. I don't think that's statutory, but so if you are one of those wonderful counties that are lucky enough to have your settlement done, say December 1st, you can provide the November 30th balances, or the, whatever prior month balances, that's what you give us. I got tongue-tied for a minute there. Pam's got me distracted. That's just a list of all the fines and fees currently, and we're not going to go into each one of those, but the next couple slides have what portion comes to the state, what percentage comes to the state, what percentage stays within the county. All of those, there's a little more detail in the settlement instructions that tells you a little bit about each one of those fines and fees, like the mortgage recording fee. There we go. We'll back up a minute. If you file your settlement prior to November 30th, you can use your October 31st balance for the fees. That's what I meant to say. Oh, and my favorite thing. Some counties have opted, because the law's a little fuzzy, they will go ahead and send in the state portion monthly on some of these, and that's fine if that's, because it's a little fuzzy out there. So that's fine, but make sure what you report is the total for that time period, even though, yes, you've already sent us some of the money. Okay, here we go. The different fees. Couple of items that we wanted to mention. Dan has brought this up before. A lot of these fees, some of them you get to keep, some of them come here. If you don't already, it'll save you, it'll save us a lot of time and headache. Remember, for those funds where, say, we get 50%, the county gets to keep 50%, make sure in your system you have two funds set up. So when you receipt that money in, you're going ahead at that time and putting 50% in the county fund and 50% to the state. The biggest one that we have the trouble, sex and violent offender registration fee. When you receipt that in, Quietus that in to your funds, if you go ahead and set up a separate fund and put that 10% in at that time, then the state's going to get their proper amount, county gets their proper amount, and we don't have to worry about going back and refunding and researching and trying to find all that out. We're working on your refund from the 2008 that you sent in, okay? It happens. It happened in my county when I was there too. When settlement's ready, we can't stress this enough because things happen. All of a sudden, somebody has to go home, and if you've sent your settlement documents to just me or just Dan, they could sit there for a day because nobody else knows that they're there. So please try to copy all of us when you send in the documents. We are listed, again, all the forms with the statement, which ones that you have to use our form, which ones that you can use your vendor's form if we've approved it. And I'm not going to read through all of them, but they're the last thing which is new. I alluded to earlier, the distribution rate report from your software, so we can verify that you did use those adjusted rates for the circuit breaker effect and for the local, what is it? Operating levy freeze. Local, low it, operating levy freeze. And looky there, again, please use the county checklist to verify data. And as we take the settlements in the order that they're received, and pretty much if there's a problem and we have to send it back, and you may make a quick fix, but when you send it back, if we have 10 in front of you, we're going to do those 10 in front of you. And it doesn't always seem fair, but that's what we have to do to be fair to everybody. We also, please make sure that that section C with your fines and fees is completed before you send in the 105. And this is new. I told you there was something new on the 49 TC. After, in June, when we instructed you all to put, or instructed the treasurer, if you didn't have any 2008 and prior delinquent tax collections that you would normally put in column 2 on the 49TC, and we told them they could put in those late payment penalty collections. Well, that didn't work as well as we had hoped. So we made a change. And we now have 3 sections to the 49TC and a column 29, and all that's on section 3 is a column for the treasurer to insert those late payment penalty collections on those certain special assessments. All of that is covered in the settlement instructions, and also a little bit about where they report their other source collections. There's a line on there where they will put that amount, and that amount has to agree with what's in section 3. I really think that's going to help make it easier for you all too with your balancing. Okay, now for you all, as you know, you all complete in section 1 of the 49TC, columns 8 through 13. That's the line 44 amount now from your 102s. And then you need in section 2 to make sure that you insert the breakdown of if in fact you have low at PTRC and you have any amount for state PTRC in those appropriate columns. And the same way with the homestead and all of the credits for any of those differences, which those all come from your PTRC recon sheet or your homestead credit recon sheet. I'm tongue-tied today. I put on there, I think that this is still correct. We've kept adjusting the settlement instructions, and I tried to go back and make sure that I do believe the 49TC instructions start on page 87. We are doing well. Any questions on any of that for right now before we move on to the next fun topic that I know I can see the excitement in your faces? Okay. Oh, Sharon, of course. The 1%, that you will send in with your other fines and fees at that time. Okay? So who's excited I didn't have to say, oh, wait, let me look into that? Thank you, Deborah. Okay, the Quietus Worksheet. We're going to do a couple of slides before the break, and then we'll come back and I'm going to go over that sheet for you all. We notice there's a little grammatical error on here that goes to prove that no matter how many times we proof something, we miss something, because the Quietus Worksheet is now BIA required. I don't think that's quite grammatically correct. Or I could say we just did that to see if anybody noticed, but that would be lying. And so the Quietus Worksheet is now required. It's required to help you all out with your settlement. It's not just to be mean. It's what we've determined is the best course of action for us is that your settlement 105 form that we normally print for you as soon as we tell you your settlement's pre-approved, we're not going to even print that or send it out until we have an approved Quietus Worksheet. We're hoping to avoid the situation for you all where your settlement's approved, you balanced, and then you get ready to do your checks and your Quietuses, and the treasurer comes over and says, whoa, we don't balance. That's the purpose. The form itself hasn't really changed. The data is still the same, but we know how big and cumbersome it was, and we've just changed the design of the form, which we're going to go over after the break. It's now a workbook with 5 separate worksheets that go over the 5 sections that were there before. And I put this nice description on there. It is a tool to assist the county auditor and the county treasurer with the final steps of settlement because the worksheet brings together in one workbook the amounts to be distributed and the cash available for distribution. So if anybody ever asks you why you have to do that, there's your answer. If it's completed properly, then you balance with the treasurer balances with you. And you can move on knowing that you're getting ready for your next settlement, everything's good. The total amount to be distributed and the total on the treasurer's cash available for distribution has to be the same. This form's going to help make that happen. The instructions are out there. We've revamped the instructions. Hopefully we got it all to compare to help you all with completing that form. I do want to make a statement real quickly. We found out that there are some software vendors that had taken the old form and they've created it for you, where it's going to actually go ahead and automatically dump that information. We've already talked about it. It's fine. You can use that form. If you're filling it out manually, we want you to use the new form. But for those counties that, if your software provider has that form in the old format for this settlement, it's okay. You can use it. State-owned property. On the state-owned property within your county, on those tax bills, we're listing on this slide and the next slide the addresses that those bills can be sent to. When you don't know, send them to the state land office. We still sometimes receive those in our office, and it just saves time. You know, if you go ahead and send it to the land office, then they know which agency, whether it's the DNR or NDOT, that should get those tax bills. That will hopefully help expedite payment to you. CVET and FIT will be happening on December 1st. We've had a question lately, and I think State Board of Accounts has had this question as well. When I alluded to, there are some Board of Review tax, I don't remember the new acronym for at the state level, but some appeals that are just now getting finalized that go back to before 2009. And how to handle that, because what happened in 2009 was the changeover with some of the state funds and the school general and the preschool education fund. The code doesn't really address it. So what we're, I would say suggesting, is that you treat those the same way as you do any other refund. It's going to go in your 17 TC. It's going to come out of your next settlement using the current funds and the current fund rates. So, because we have had that a lot lately. But that also tells me that maybe some of those appeals are getting taken care of, which I know is a problem because of all that interest money. Okay. Late payment penalty collections on special assessments. Remember, those penalties, those late payment penalties on those do not get paid to, in the case of sewer districts or that, they don't get paid to them. And they'll just call you and say, what am I supposed to do with this money? And you can say that it's Christmas time, but they really don't have the ability nor the authority to receive that money. Next. And more stuff. Just a reminder, make sure you copy all of us in the office when you send in your settlement. Once again, encourage you to use ACH to make payments. Easier for you, less costly. So we just encourage that. We listed some of the monies that you can send in. There are monies, I believe, that you might send to some of the other agencies, but not so much. So it's basically any money that we are to receive. And under the anything else I forgot, these are things that just pop up at the last minute that, oh yeah, we should tell you this. Watercraft. As we said, there are still some issues with some of those reports because of NSF checks. When that happens, the BMV cannot go back and correct their original report that they have out on the FTP site in PDF and text file. So what you'll see out there is that same file number, and it'll either say manual at the end of it or corrected. So if you pull up that original number and it doesn't match back to your distribution, go back out to the FTP site and see if you see one that has that on there, because it varies, obviously, with each distribution. That'll just save you some time. And just a reminder, too, that the audit payments you get the bill from when the field examiners have been out and did their job and performed an audit, those monies are paid to the treasurer, but that money is sent to the State Board of Accounts. Okay? Okay.